something interesting happened today. There has now been official rumblings and buzz that
Rumblings and bumblings.
that the Dallas Cowboys are open for business with Dak Prescott to go to the Cleveland Browns for the number 2 overall pick. The reasoning why I think this happens is because they cannot pay Micah Parsons and pay Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb at the same time. They are essentially hedging, saying, we need to keep Micah Parsons on this team. Dak Prescott, thank you for your service. We are going to trade you for the number 2 overall pick. We are going to then take Shedeur Sanders at number 2 and Brian Schottenheimer, thank you for being a placeholder for a year. Deion Sanders, you are now the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones' dying wish is to get both Sanders in the building in
All
Dallas.
three, dude, all three.
It makes sense. It really does make sense.
It does, and you texted me about this today. Our friend Miles is a very big Browns fan, so he's been following this.
Okay.
I did get he sent the initial post to us in our one group chat, and it was basically what you said, that they were in conversations about a trade. He went on to send another one saying that the Browns are not in contact with the Cowboys about a potential Dak trade, despite previous reports, according to Jane Slater, the reporter for the NFL Network. So who knows? It could happen. I'm not ruling it off. It's way more fun to pretend that it happens. So
I am hearing that the number 2 pick is on the table for trade negotiations. That's what I'm hearing as of right now.
Listen, this wouldn't have come out if it wasn't on the table.
It is. I think that there's legitimate smoke. Where there's smoke, there's fire.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like Ben Kunkel at the Pilates studio with bran flakes. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And I think that there's a good chance that the Cleveland Browns are hungry to right their wrongs at the quarterback position. And what better way to do it than with Dak Prescott, who gets a ton of hate. Everybody hates that guy because they think he's mid, but he is an above average starter in the NFL. He won't absolutely tank them at the quarterback position. And I feel like at this point for the Cleveland Browns, it's just like, can we please just get somebody in here for 4 years who's decent, and then we'll figure it out from there. So
you don't even need him for 4. Like, if you could get him for 2 years, like, that should buy you enough time to figure something else out.
Yeah. So I think that they're like itching for that, some sort of consistency at the quarterback position. But from the Dallas Cowboys perspective, like, if you have a strong inclination of you want Shedeur Sanders or whatever, I don't know why or what they're thinking, but you have a decent nucleus set if you can keep Micah Parsons on that defensive side of the football. And it seems like I've talked to somebody who handles the cap in the NFL. Seems like the reasoning why this is an actual report that has legitimacy to it is because they are going to essentially have to let Micah walk if they can't figure out a deal to get Dak out of town, because they can't pay off all of these players like a Trayvon Diggs, a CeeDee Lamb, a Dak Prescott, a Micah Parsons, all of these millions without having the rest of the team around them. So I think that that's a move that they're definitely going to be considering. And like I said, the number two pick is officially on the table. That actually got announced by like a source about the Cleveland Browns, that they are willing to move off of this number 2 pick. So it feels like they're not even going to be going the Shedeur Sanders route at this point. So if a team loves them, why not go up and grab them?
I mean, I think it would be, if you're a Browns fan, I would be thrilled at this spot. Yeah. I understand I understand like the excitement behind having a rookie quarterback. Like, who knows what the future could hold. But like the Browns have just been in absolute quarterback hell besides 1 or 2 years with Baker Mayfield. Like, why would you not want some competency on the offensive side of the football? Like, they have a good offensive line. They have some good players to throw the football to. Like, you still have Myles Garrett on defense. And I know you don't like Stefanski as much as me, but like, I still think Stefanski's a pretty decent head coach for what he's been having to deal with at quarterback these last handful of years. So I think the Browns make the playoffs if they get Dak Prescott.
Listen, this is a great conversation, cute conversation, but we are here to shit on the Dallas Cowboys and not talk about the Cleveland Browns. So,
okay,
the first
on the
other thing that we need to talk about right away is that the Dallas Cowboys, after Mike McCarthy as his tenure from 2020 to 2024, compiled a record of 49-35, and although he was not ultra successful in the postseason, he pretty much guaranteed a nice
winning record
for the Dallas Cowboys and something that they know that they can kind of expect on a year-to-year basis. And they thought, or Jerry thought, or whoever thought, it would be a good idea to move on from Mike McCarthy this season and hire, and he said it in the press conference, a lifelong assistant coach, Brian Schottenheimer. And I hate this move. I think it's stupid. It was very disrespectful to Mike McCarthy. I don't understand what reasoning why you would want to get rid of him. I guess it is what it is at this point, but that is the first of many moves, which the questionable move of them wanting to trade Dak Prescott for Shedeur Sanders. And now we're moving into another questionable move of getting rid of a coach, a Super Bowl winning coach, who has a high floor. And if they are able to potentially stay healthy or have some things bounce their way, maybe go on a deep run in the playoffs. What do you think about the move that they made to fire Mike McCarthy and bring on Schottenheimer?
I mean, I think from an Eagles fan's perspective, I love it because I think McCarthy was actually a good head coach.
Yeah.
I think you said it perfectly where he set a floor basically for every season of you're pretty much going to win 10 games as long as, even if Dak is healthy, you're like Dak healthy and
they won
McCarthy
7 games last year.
Yeah, I was going to say Dak healthy, you're going to, and McCarthy head coach, you're going to win 10 games. And even without Dak, they still won 7.
I think low key, like last year, looking back on what the Cowboys had on their team,
they were bad.
They're bad, and they won 7 games.
Still won 7 games.
Pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and even the last game, like CD sat out. They don't have a running back, and there might have been 1 or 2 other injury. There might have been another injury, like on defense too, that they had to deal with.
Trayvon Diggs didn't play.
Yeah.
Who's the other corner that's slipping my mind? The other
Deron Bland.
Deron Bland didn't play. Like, those are big time guys who are ball hawks who, over their careers are combined for like 30 fucking turnovers between the two of them.
Crazy.
Like, they're a big deal. And then let's just roll into some of the acquisitions that they made this offseason. Rico Dwaddle, I didn't hate him. I wouldn't say that he was a world beater by any sense of the imagination, but he was decent for them last year. He was a 1,000-yard rusher. They let him walk. And what they do then to fix their running back room is get maybe the 2 worst running backs on the market. Miles Sanders, 1 year, $1.3 million contract, and then Javonte Williams, who, I mean, that guy is terrible.
So
How
bad.
do you go and just continue to get worse at the running back position since Prime Zeke?
It's crazy. It's crazy.
To where they're at right now, they are so bad at running back. It's insane.
I don't understand it at all because the Dallas Cowboys have always had a good running back basically up until like the last since 2020, 2019? Like, is that when we got the last version of Prime Zeke?
Yeah, probably. Maybe 2019, yeah.
Yeah, since the last 5 to 6 years, the Dallas Cowboys have always had a pretty good running back from what I can remember. And since then, it's just been absolutely terrible guys coming in and out of that running back room. Like, obviously, I love Miles Sanders as a Penn State guy, but like he left the Eagles and his career just
I mean, he wasn't good on the
gone,
Eagles either.
just gone. And then Javonte Williams, I thought that he was going to be a decent running back in the NFL. Got hurt, just never even came close to making it back to. He might be worse than he was in college.
Listen, respectfully, Miles Sanders finished the season with the Eagles with 0 touchdowns. He's always stunk.
That was crazy. Yeah, that's a crazy stat.
But
regardless, 2 very, very bad running backs.
Now, their offensive departures, Trey Lance, I mean, that stings. Then you get rid of Cooper Rush. If you see my full 48 quarterback rankings from this offseason, not too many people have from this past season, not too many people have. I actually have Cooper Rush above a lot of starters who played last year. I don't think he's terrible. I think he's a good player. Rico Dwaddle, you lose Brandon Cooks, Chuma Due, their tackle. I have no clue who that is. Obviously, you have Zach Martin, who retired after 11 seasons. That stings. And then you lose DeMarcus Lawrence, their defensive end as well, who he's all right. I mean, he's 32, 33 years old now.
Yeah, I think he's
I don't think that that's a move that is the worst thing in the world for them. I mean, it is what it is.
I wouldn't lose sleep over it.
No, I wouldn't lose sleep over that either. And then some acquisitions. You traded for Khair Elam from the Buffalo Bills.
Wasn't he just getting cooked at the very beginning of the playoffs last year?
He's not very good. He's from Florida. Kenneth Murray, a linebacker from the Tennessee Titans. He hasn't been very good.
That was a guy that I loved coming out of college, and I thought he was going to be sick in the NFL, and he just hasn't been.
Yeah, it stings, and it just feels like these guys, nothing's special about any of these guys. It seems like Khair Elam is will be like a nickel or something like that. You're not asking to be a number one corner, so it is what it is.
That's like a depth. That feels like a depth move.
Yeah,
I mean, if you have two starting corners that are coming off of injury and have had prior injuries, I feel like you kind of have to make a move to like add somebody to that cornerback room that has starting experience.
Yeah, you're probably right. And I think obviously there's going to be a massive hole in this offensive line by losing Zach Martin, who's like an all-timer. But I mean, it is what it is at this point. You have to move on, and it seems like the Cowboys just have some work to do ultimately, like in the draft. So,
yeah, I think this could end up being a rough season for them. They just don't have they have Dak and CD, but like, there's just not a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball.
No, not much. Not unfortunately, of course. I mean.
I think who's their wide receiver too over there?
Paris Campbell.
Yeah, I saw they signed him.
I don't know. I have no idea. It's bad. It could get grim for them. Just on the season, maybe it was just
Jalen Tolbert.
Yeah, Jalen Tolbert.
Jonathan Mingo. No, it's Jonathan Mingo.
All-time bad trade this season, obviously for 4th-round pick. Jonathan Mingo, completely. I still don't get it at all. So. Yeah, I would say that the Cowboys.
Wait. Jonathan Mingo went for a 4th, and DK Metcalf went for a 3rd.
Yeah, 2nd. He went for a 2nd.
2nd, okay, all right.
But still, I get the point. Like, if you're gonna do anything, I mean, shit. But
DK is a guy that was like. People thought that Dallas was going to get him,
but they don't have money for him. So that's
they're one of the most recognizable franchises in the world, and they don't have enough money. They didn't have enough money to sign Derrick Henry. So,
yeah, very true.
Maybe Jerry needs to lay off. He doesn't need like 7 yachts.
It hurts for the Cowboys fans. I can imagine. My question for you is obviously the Cowboys sit here in this year's draft with the 12th overall pick. I think that in past years, everybody is sitting there and kind of pinning them to take Ashton Genty. This is another Genty team.
Yep.
I don't think the Cowboys are a bad front office from a talent evaluation standpoint. You obviously hit on Dak Prescott. You obviously hit on Zeke. Uh, Micah
CD,
Parsons.
Micah,
Micah was the 12th pick in the draft. CD Lamb was
Diggs,
like the 20th
Deron
pick in the
Bland.
draft. Diggs was a second round pick. Deron Bland was a 6th round pick. This is a good front office. And what they're really good at doing is you have Terrence Steele on the offensive line. You have Tyler Smith, who is a great tackle, a great guard in the NFL. And then they hit on Tyler Guyton, the left tackle for them from Oklahoma last year. I think that this is still a team that will try to build up these trenches. And I think that they will. The loss of Zach Martin is a big one for them. I mean, that's somebody who was in their organization for 11 years and amazing. And I think that like getting some sort of offensive lineman in for the Dallas Cowboys is important. And I think that the team that this is the Will Campbell team for LSU. What I've seen is that Will Campbell has been slowly falling down draft boards. And it feels like this is he's still a good player. I think it might be a little bit of an overreaction. And I think this is the Dallas Cowboys team. Do you want them to go a certain way? Do you think that they'll go a certain way? Is there any player that I'm missing, or what do you think?
Well, what I had here is in agreement with you was the Genti team. But I think you made a good point that they are a front office that drafts pretty well. And there's so many good running backs in this class that I don't think that even with how bad their running back room is, I think they could get a better value pick here that is more of a long-term solution for this offense that isn't necessarily a running back. I like the Will Campbell move. Like I said, my first note was Genti, but I also had Zach Martin replacement on here. This like if I'm Will Campbell and I fall to the Dallas Cowboys and they're like, hey man, like we want you to play guard. You have 4 guys on your offensive line that are pretty freaking good.
Really good.
And I don't think that's a bad thing. And who knows? Like, I know that you're not supposed to pick a guard this early in the draft, but like you already have your left tackle. And if you can get a guy that's going to be like a generational guard for a long time, you already saw how much that helped with Zach Martin. Like, what's wrong with doing that again here?
I don't think there is. And I think we can give
one other
Cowboys.
guy.
Go ahead.
I also, if Tet is there, I think that they could benefit from taking a wide receiver as well.
I think that's fair. I think that's completely fair.
Yeah, but that's where I sit right now is the Zach Martin replacement and then wide receiver as my second pick.
Yeah,
as my second option, depending on what offensive linemen are available.
I think you can give the Cowboys a lot of shit for how they handle some of these contract disputes and paying guys, but you can't knock their talent evaluation. They're some of the best in the game. So it really just depends on what they find most valuable in this draft, but I have faith that they'll be able to nail the pick and just based off the last like 10 years, pretty much. They do a pretty good job.
They have done a good job, but they have to figure out the contract part of this. It's like speaking Swahili to them.
I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Do you have anything else that you want to add in about the Dallas Cowboys?
No, I'm good.
White clouds blowing out when we